And we are live, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the live stream, and I'm starting video soon. In this video, we'll be looking at matchup between Eternatus VMAX and Vikavolt. This is definitely going to be a interesting matchup to watch. On the right side, you're looking at Eternatus VMAX deck, and on the left side, you're looking at Vikavolt V deck. So it's not hard to determine which player plays Eternatus VMAX just because there are sleeves with Eternatus logo on the right. So you're not familiar with Eternatus VMAX deck, so here it is, boys. We have Eternatus V, as you can see it right here. I'm gonna move it a little bit. Alright, so we have Eternatus V, 220 HP Darkness Pokemon. It says Power Acceleration for 1 Colorless Energy, it hits for 30, and you might attach a Darkness Energy card from your hand to one of your benched Pokemon, which basically means that you have free acceleration to your benched, either way VMAX or Eternatus V. Dynamax Cannon, really not worth to mention because it requires 4 energies for 1 Darkness and 3 Colorless 120. If opponent's active Pokemon is a VMAX, this attack does 120 more damage. Speaking about Eternatus VMAX, we have Eternatus VMAX here, which says Eternatus VMAX 340 HP. It hits for 30 times 30 for actually it hits 30 for each of your Darkness Pokemons in play, which basically means for 1 Darkness Energy and for 1 Colorless Energy, this means that you can even use it with a counter gain. So if you have more prize cards left than your opponent, you can attach energy from hand manually, add 1 counter gain, and hit for 30 times the amount of your Darkness Pokemons in play. You can have up to 9 Pokemons in play total, which means that you can hit for 270 with 240 HP. That's ridiculous. That's his ability. Alright. Now, what does the Eternatus have for the backup? Of course, you always probably wonder yourself. Well, it can play a couple different Pokemons. It can play Spiritomb, it can play Hoopa with Evil Elimination, and also new Hoopa as well. So, let's see the first opening hand for both players. So, Vikavolt player didn't start the best. There is just the Dean in the active position. He does have Capture Energy, which means that with this Capture Energy, he can attach energy in it and search the deck for Vikavolt, put it on the bench. So, this opening hand looks really bad because there is no Vikavolt in the active hand, not even a Quick Ball. And that's really messy. Of course, you can recover easily, getting back that Tapu Koko with a Dance of the Ancient in play, but obviously you really want to start with the Vikavolt, you really want to go with energy attachment to him, and you really want to start item locking your opponent at the turn 2. But with that being said, if you miss energy attachment to Vikavolt turn 1, and if you don't have ability to bench down Tapu Koko, you're not going to be able to item lock your opponent at the turn 2, and that's something you really don't want to see often. So, as you can see, capture energy into Tapu Koko for that powerful ability and extra energy acceleration, but the problem is that right now, even if he wants to activate it, he won't be able, because he needs somehow to discard energies in the discard pile, and in order to do that, he can definitely use, for example, his, let's say, Guzma and Hela for that Stadium, Special Energy card, and a Tool card. But if one of those pieces are actually prized, for example Stadium, you still cannot attack. Even if it's not, you still need to find a way to get that Vikavolt in play. Where on the other side, Eternatus gets Energy Attachment. There is a Zigzagoon, which I completely forget about it. Zigzagoon ability. When you play Zigzagoon from your hand, you might put 1 damage counter on one of your opponent's Pokemon in play, which means that you can scoop Zigzagoon with a Scoop Up Net a couple times, and you can basically add multiple damage to your opponent's Pokemon in play. And of course, this deck plays 4 Zigzagoons as well. So Crobat, there it is, new Crobat, very powerful card from that new set with Darkest set, which says that when you play Crobat from your hand on your bench, you can draw cards till you have 6 in your hand, but you can't use more than 1 Darkest set ability per turn. Unfortunately, you cannot. So another Zigzagoon hits the ground, and this is gonna be a quick ball for Professor Research into maybe another Eternatus V, maybe into some backup attacking Pokemon, and it does. He took the Eternatus V, so he decided to go with Eternatus V in this case. Alright. So with Eternatus V on the bench, you can hit with Eternatus V attack. You can hit for 30 damage and attach energy card from hand to that bench of Eternatus, and that's really powerful if you ask me. The damage is not the best, but still. Alright, so what do we have here? We have, okay, interesting, there is a Ablaze. After that Marnie, Vikavolt player draw into a Skateboard, Absol, Quick Ball, and Oricorio. Oricorio will be good add-on in this deck, of course. Once your opponent knocks something, you can simply draw 3 cards, and that helps you to go through your deck faster. And Absol also helps you to basically stall your opponent in order to build up maybe Raichu or maybe Vikavolt Super Zap Cannon attack. So a great ball, of course, for Eternatus VMAX. I'm talking probably 10 minutes about Eternatus deck. I didn't even have a time to mention this Vikavolt V. Paralyzing Bolt for 50 during your opponent next turn. They can't play any item cards from their hand. And finally, there is a Vikavolt, but the problem is that even with Vikavolt in play, still energies are necessary, and this deck list plays only 1 copy of the Dean GX, which means that Quick Ball won't be enough. So the best thing here can probably be a Jirachi for that Stellar Wish, and hope to maybe pull something like, you know, Marnie, or maybe Drow Supporter, or maybe even Guzman Hala, but still you need to have enough resource to play that Guzman Hala. In my opinion, probably the best thing would be to hit that Guzman Hala here for Stadium, Speed Lighting Energy, of course, and another tool card like a Skateboard, for example, but then you need to pay 2 cards from your hand to use it. So actually interesting, the Skateboard for that Dean. Obviously he really wants to attack with a Tingly Return GX, and there is just a Giant Bomb ×2. Alright, I mean, even Giant Bomb is not that bad. Still, opponent Pokemon needs to hit for 180 or more in order to Giant Bomb to be triggered. Once the Giant Bomb is triggered, it does 10 damage, counters to opponent attacking Pokemon. So Stellar Wish for that Giant Bomb, nothing too special. Didn't even want to bother attaching it. Probably want to keep it for later when there's gonna be more than just 5 Pokemons in play. At this moment, attack does only 150, which is not enough for one-hit knockout. Which is enough for the one-hit knockout against Jirachi, but it's not enough to trigger that Giant Bomb, so that's the reason why he didn't want to even bother attaching that Giant Bomb from his hand. Only on the other side of the field, Tingler Return can hit for 50, maybe even more, depends on how many damage modifier Vikavolt player can do and can find. But yeah, there is a Capture Energy, which means that when you attach Capture Energy to your Eternatus deck, you can search the deck for basic Pokemon and put it on the bench. But Crobat won't be triggered, so I'm not sure why he decided to pick Crobat, because it needs to go straight on the bench, which means that ability cannot be activated on the Crobat Wii, because Crobat says when you play this Pokemon from your hand, and Capture Energy says when you basically attach it, search your deck for a basic Pokemon and put it on your bench. So we have interesting add-on here, which is a Spiritomb with the Building Spite deck. That was pretty much my idea here for that Anguish Cry. It can hit more than Hoopa, you know. It can hit more than Hoopa, and in the matchups where Zigzagoon it's not played, Spiritomb can actually be very useful. Why? Because you can build up damage with the Anguish Cry, and you can, for example, hit for like 160 with single energy card, and that's just remarkable amount of the damage. You can set up pre-knockout with the Spiritomb, and you can finish it with Eternatus VMAX, and in my opinion, that's a very powerful thing. So that's a boss order on Tapu Koko, which basically means that there's not gonna be a energy acceleration for Vikavolt VMAX, for Vikavolt Wii, but it will be acceleration for him with, you know, counter gain at least. So Oricorio used for the Dance of the Tribute, three cards were drawn, and that's a very bad Stellar Wish, just a reset stamp, nothing else. That's a very, very bad thing, and reason stamping your opponent 2 cards into 5 really wouldn't be good at all. So I see a boss order, I see energy, so I think return can potentially happen, and Stall can just, you know, be used for maybe 1 turn, and then, you know, for example, with that being said, and with the Dean in the hand, and with, you know, that John Bomb available, the Din can Tingler return for like 80, and basically Jirachi can be promoted in the active position, and then, you know, energy can manually be attached to the Vikavolt in order to be used for that paralyzing bolt, potentially with something like counter gain. So even if somehow Eternatus VMAX managed to remove that paralyze effect from it, still if attacks Jirachi, it will take 10 damage counters back. We also see Eviltoad GX on the other side of the field. Ooh, interesting. Black Market traded with that Radiant Forest for energy to be attached on Eternatus VMAX. We see 7 Pokemons in play, and Eternatus just passes the turn. So what's gonna happen next? A skateboard attachment to Jirachi, which is obvious. I see 2 energies. I see energy and capture energy, which means that capture energy might be used for that Vikavolt. So another potential Jirachi can be triggered. Oh, there's a tag call. Okay, so with a tag call, you could pick up either way Guzman Hala or maybe Cynthia and Caitlyn. So with a Guzman Hala, you can search the deck for Stadium. If you discard 2 more cards from your hand, you can grab Stadium, Tool, and special energy cards. With Cynthia and Caitlyn, you can pick up support a card from your discard pile in your hand. But if you decide to, maybe, for example, discard card from your hand, you can search the deck for, you know, basically you can search you can pick the supporter card and draw the 3 cards from the top of your deck as well. So tag call for Guzman Hala, which means that speed lightning energy can be used, and then that speed lightning energy can be used for 2 extra cards, and also Stadium can be used, which means that paralyzing bolt can finally be used for like 50, and the damage can be added. The most important thing here is that Giant Bomb can also be used, which means that Giant Bomb can be then added to Vikavolt, and then Paralyzing Bolt hits for 50, but if Eternatus decide to one-hit knock at Vikavolt, it will basically take 10 damage back as well, but still gonna be far from the enough to be knocked out. Alright, so another Vikavolt hits the ground. There is a Pikachu and Raichu available as well. He decided not to use it, or will he? Yeah. So Vikavolt placed on the bench, and there is a Giant Bomb. Alright, not sure if... Yep, there is a Thunder Mountain. You don't even want to bother discarding card from hand for that. Viridian Forest in order to search the deck for maybe another Lightning Energy, and finally, after so many turns and after so many, struggle, Vikavolt managed to hit for Paralyzing Bolt and for 50, and yeah, that's gonna be 50 plus, item lock. 50 plus item lock. We finally have item lock again available in standard format after Seismitoad, after Wild Plume from Ancient Origins. It's finally back. Alright, so looks like our camera a little bit lose the focus. So 130 damage on active Eternatus means that if Eternatus attacks, it will take 10 damage counters back, and it will have 230 damage on it. So with 230 damage on it, potentially Vikavolt can return knockout with energy, because there is Thunder Mountain in play, and with, for example, let's say, and with counter gain, or maybe with Paralyzing Bolt and couple Electro Powers. But it's so hard to get that many pieces in play. So top deck was a Lightning Energy. That Lightning Energy definitely doesn't need to be attached to Vikavolt, because there is a Thunder Mountain, which means that he can go pretty much with Capture Energy attachment for, another Pokemon setup. Raise the Stamp is an optional play here as well. Stamp down to 3, but if he have 4 cards in hand, it's interesting that he's forgetting to build Spiritomb. He's forgetting to build Spiritomb. We didn't mention 2 other add-ons, Assault Gate Hoopa for 90 if it's moved from, bench to the active position. And we also forget to mention Evil Domination Hoopa, that's also used as a tech in this deck. 10 plus 20 more for each Pokemon with ability on your opponent's side of the field. So, there is a counter gain, okay, but will he decide to go for that Super Zap Cannon, or will he decide just to continue to item lock him? That's a very good question. I think that personally it's better just to go for the knockout than for the 3 price card knockout, instead of just dealing more damage counters with item lock, because there is not enough pieces to set up that item lock for enough damage. 210, 340 minus 210 should be 130, so 3 Electro Powers needs to be used. As long as you don't have them, you cannot knock the Eternatus with the Paralyzing Bolt, and that's just insane how powerful that Eternatus is, how tanky he really is. 340 HP. I think that's the strongest VMAX. Speaking about HP. Okay, also Snorlax VMAX have also 340 or maybe 350. Maybe Snorlax even have 350, but something tells me that he also have 340 because with that buff padding he should have 390. Yeah, that's correct. He also have 340 HP. They definitely needs to make Wailord VMAX with 400 HP. That would be insane. Okay, so Race's stamp hits the ground. Eternatus goes down to 3 prize cards. The question remains, what will Vikavolt do next? Will it be used for Paralyzing Bolt or will it be used for Super Zap Cannon? Something tells me that Super Zap Cannon will be triggered here. And look at this. There is 1 energy attached on Vikavolt, which means that it pays 1 energy cost for Super Zap Cannon. Thunder Mountain pays 2nd energy cost for that lightning energy, and Counter Gain pays that Chorus energy cost in that Super Zap Cannon, and that's it. That's the knockout. 1 energy needs to be discarded because there's not 2 energies on Vikavolt. It says discard 2 energies from this Pokemon. If it says discard 2 energies from this Pokemon in order to use this attack, Vikavolt wouldn't be able to use it. So there is a Hiding Darkness energy just attached on the Eternatus VMAX, and all suddenly Eternatus VMAX can start hitting heavily, but unfortunately, ooh, you gotta be kidding me, that Reese's stamp was successful. That's only 180 damage because there's no way he can set up basically another Pokemon in play, and with 180 damage, wow, Absol right now wouldn't be bad at all. So switch somehow would be a good thing to preserve that counter gain for another Super Zap Cannon. And you gotta be kidding me. There is a Bird Keeper, so he definitely decided to move that Vikavolt on the bench. You can draw 3 extra cards. Ooh, I see also a Cape here, which adds 50 more HP to Eternatus. Speed Lightning Energy for 2. Look how many cards Vikavolt player have. So many cards in his hand. There are also 2 copies of Electro Power, which means that Vikavolt right now can hit potentially with his Paralyzing Bolt for 110, maybe even more. There is a switch. Hitting for 110 and being knocked out on the following turn allows him to power up that Super Zap Cannon, but still will be short for nothing less but for 40, which is just insane. Oh, and there is another Electro Power. Alright, so with 3 Electro Powers, will he go for Electro Power or maybe for Control with Reese's Stamp? He decided rather to go for another Electro Power. So right now 3 Electro Powers can be used, which means that this is going to be a big hit from Vikavolt. It will be 3, 6, 9, 140 and 190. It's 330. Oh my goodness, and Eternatus have 340 HP left, which means that even if Eternatus knock him back, he cannot knock him back with that Vikavolt and Super Zap Cannon on the bench just because of 340 HP on Eternatus. It's so tanky, it's so powerful, which basically means that all he really needs is just 1 Pokemon or boss order to basically close up this matchup. Oh my goodness, you gotta be kidding me. So he finally decided to build up Spite on this Spiritomb, and he added damage to that Spiritomb, and he added 1 more time, so that's a little bit cheeky from his side of the field. He decided to add twice, but it really doesn't matter in this matchup anyways. Spirit Thumb can one-hit knock it for weakness anyways. That or Ikorio, even if he hits Vikavolt once. Oh, there's a Marnie. There's a Marnie, and that's the good night Marnie. So with this Marnie, basically he can draw 5 more cards, and if he can find himself a Pokemon, he can simply put it on the bench. Maybe even a capture energy, but he already attached energy, so personally I would rather go without energy attachment. And there's a Zigzagoon, which means that he can add 10 more damage counters to bench at Vikavolt. That's 190 damage, and if he can somehow pick up that Vikavolt... Oh, but he cannot use actually a Scoop Up Net because he is under the item lock, which means that this is a big mistake from Eternatus side, because yeah, under the item lock you unfortunately are not allowed to play item cards, and yeah, that's the something that he didn't even pay attention on. So will they try to fix that out right now or what? So there is another scoop up net play, and there's enough Pokemons obviously for the knockout, but he cannot do it because it's under the item lock. So yeah, Cape of the Toughness adds 50 more HP on the Vikavolt, and they will probably right now notice that he played Scoop Up Net. Under the item lock. So yeah, he's pointing right now on the Vikavolt. So Vikavolt cannot be knocked out. Only 1 damage can be placed in this case on the Vikavolt because of that. Okay, so right now there is a Viridian Forest, so it really doesn't matter anyways because he managed to find a Stadium card. But it's a question, would he be able to find a Stadium card? Obviously a bit without 2 Crobat plays and without that Scoop Up Net being discarded. That's a good question. Unfortunately, it is just, you know, home matchup, so we didn't pay too much attention on it. But on the tournament, obviously, that would be a horrible mistake, and probably some price reductions would happen or something like that. Yeah, it is how it is. So yeah, with 190 damage right now on that Vikavolt. I mean, even if Vikavolt can hit with the Super Zap Cannon, it wouldn't be enough anyways. So basically, what he can try to do. He can try to basically pick up energy for that Vikavolt. He can try to Dean into 6 new cards and basically try to find a stamp and a boss order to stall a turn maybe with that, let's say, Yveltal on the bench, but then Yveltal also knock him out if energy shows up. But he needs to find a 3 prize cards knockout, which is not gonna happen. So yeah, there is a Risa stamp. There is a Risa stamp and there is a Viridian Forest. So even if boss orders appears and even if Risa stamp happens for 1, Vikavolt can potentially just go down to something like, let's say maybe, yeah, it can hit Yveltal, but if he can find energy, then he can simply, you know, knock him back. 1 retreat cost also, which means that even if hiding Darkness energy can be found, Yveltal can retreat for free. So maybe better solution would be that Crobat, maybe a little bit of misplay here. But what Vikavolt can still do, it can maybe potentially try to power up that Raichu and maybe switch boss order into Raichu for like 160, but still not enough. But it can at least try to paralyze that Eternatus and then knock him out on the following turn. But that's just like 3 turns for manually attaching, which is probably not gonna happen. And we see Darkness Energy draw from Yveltal, and all Yveltal needs is just add energy and basically finish the game, and that's the GG. So very interesting matchup where Eternatus also almost managed to lose this game somehow. It's who knows what will happen after that, you know, scoop up net play under the item log. Who knows what would happen. That would be another boss order and still wouldn't be enough for the knockout, because 10 damage counters will be needed for Vikavolt and for the knockout. And yeah, Raichu potentially could be powered up, but it was just far from it. So anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed watching this video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, hit the thumbs up, and yeah, that's it for today's video. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.